How you doing, everybody? Vasu Party here. Casey Freelove, Charlie O on assignment. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for Monday, May 3rd, 2021. Let me get this all set up here as we get going here. Thanks to everybody on Facebook Live, also the Stables Media YouTube page, as well as my personal YouTube media page. Let me get this going before I give any information out here on what's going on here. Coming up on the podcast, the NFL draft over the weekend as well. Good for those guys that are all there. Good for the quarterbacks that got drafted in the first round. Good for everybody that got drafted, actually. What a weekend it was. So let me get this set up here. So I don't know why this isn't going, but here we go. Here we go. All right. That's not it. This is real good radio here. Real good radio and TV when you do this here. Sometimes Facebook is a little cranky. There we go. We're all set. All right. Once again, welcome everybody to the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasu Party, Casey Freelove, Charlie O, both on assignment, solo act today. Thanks to Charlie O for filling in for me on Thursday and for both of us on Friday. What a great job he did covering the NFL draft. Frankly, I didn't know if the NFL draft was worth coming on, but so I used it. I used the excuse of getting my second shot, my vaccine on Thursday. Kind of riled me up a little bit, kind of made me tired, and kind of got me up and back and all this other stuff. Any advice for anybody out there getting their shots? Drink a lot of fluids before and after. Lots of water, lots of H2O before and after. It will ease the side effects. It will ease the stomach pain. Make sure you have something to eat as well, preferably after. Don't have a lot of Oreo cookies. Don't drink a lot of alcohol. Don't do what I did, basically. So Thursday and Friday, a little side effects. For the most part, feeling all great today. It was a great weekend in the NFL for those young men that got drafted. It was a great weekend in Major League Baseball. And what a weekend in the NBA, winding down to the last 10 or so games. What is going on with the Los Angeles Lakers? What is going on with the Boston Celtics? We'll figure that out as we get to the NBA segment. Let's get to the weekend as it was as we get to it. First of all, let's get the lines up here. The National League odds for baseball today, limited schedule. Philadelphia, a favorite at home against Milwaukee. The Dodgers favorite at Chicago. Dodgers had a rough weekend in Milwaukee, but they broke out of it. 15 RBIs combined between A.J. Pollock and Matt Beatty. That's got to be some kind of record. I'm sure they had it on there. St. Louis 122 versus the Mets at home. The Giants got one win out of the weekend, so it wasn't an all-loss weekend in San Diego for them. They got Aaron Sanchez going tonight against Ramon Marquez. Colorado a slight favorite there. And then those Padres took 2 out of 3 from San Francisco. Miguel Diaz, check your scouting reports out. He's filling in on the open spot for the Padres tonight against Tyler Anderson. 175 the favorite. If it was one of the big guys, probably be $2 the way Pittsburgh's going right now. The total at 8. Speaking of the Philadelphia game, I encourage everybody to get on YouTube. If you watched the Phillies-Mets game last night, first of all, it looked pretty warm there for 8 o'clock at night for a game starting. But I encourage everybody to get on YouTube and see the guy that caught the foul ball. It was all over. It was all over the social media. Foul ball that came off the bat of, I think, Dominic Smith of the Mets, somewhere in the 6th or 7th inning. He had ice cream in his one hand, which is why I was wondering how hot is it in Philadelphia right now on Sunday nights on May 2nd on the East Coast. It must be warm enough to have ice cream in one hand. But he caught a tailing line drive off the bat of Dominic Smith in the left field stands at 97 miles an hour off the bat. Actually, good for ESPN. They did the StatCast on it. And that guy caught the ball with his right hand. So his left hand, he's licking ice cream like I'm doing right now. There's a foul ball. There it is. I'll make that catch like that. So he did that. There was a nice-looking girl sitting next to him. They must have been together. If the girl didn't love him before that, getting on SportsCenter and all the highlight shows last night by making the one-handed catch off a 97-mile-an-hour hit foul ball by Dominic Smith of the New York Mets, she should be in love with him now because he's famous, and she probably got a big kick out of it as well, too. So that was something that happened last night as well, too. The Philadelphia Phillies bullpen, holy cow, you talk about kerosene. They didn't even use Hector Neris. They had a 4-2 lead in the 8th inning. Pilar homers. A couple of singles later, they get the bullpen in. Joe Girardi must be pulling his you-know-what out because he doesn't have Mariano Rivera in the bullpen. He's got Hector Neris, who's had a rough 2 years in Philadelphia. I'm sorry, Philadelphia fans. You know it as well as anybody. I mean, you had Gabe Kapler there that was burning through the bullpen 2 years ago. He's doing a lot better in terms of managing the bullpen in San Francisco. But Hector Neris wasn't even used in a 4-2, 4-3 game. Alvarado came in, and he was a gas can. He only threw 3 strikes out of 13 pitches. And Phillies defense, they were lackadaisical. Jonathan VR went to third on a base hit when it was 4-3, and it was a very lackadaisical effort on the Phillies defense, and he just took off for home and scored. And then before you know it, Pete Alonso doubles home 3. It's 8-4, and then the New York Mets bullpen, who was not much better than Philadelphia's in terms of gas can effects. Talk about side effects from the vaccine. These are side effects of bullpens. The New York Mets bullpen, talk about almost lighting it up. And if it wasn't for an overturned replay, they'd still be playing in an 8-8 game going into today. Who knows how long that game would have gone based on the bullpens. But the New York Mets get the victory. They're in first place in the National League East at 11-11. Philadelphia's 2 games back, and I forgot who was in second. Another 500 team is in second place at 12-12. I want to say Washington Nationals. They've won 3 in a row. Them and the Cardinals right now 4 in a row. They've won 4 in a row, and they are the hottest teams in the National League right now. Let's get to some MLB notes. As we said, the Phillies bullpen beleaguered. Shohei Ohtani scratched tonight from his start versus the Tampa Bay Rays against Tyler Glasnow. That would have been a great matchup between Ohtani and Glasnow. Tyler Glasnow having a great year for Tampa Bay. Ohtani for the Angels as well. You know, Babe Ruth-like stats. We said this last week, leading the league in home runs while top 5 in ERA. I mean, he's doing it all for everybody. But he got scratched tonight, and he's had history problems. He's had injury problems in his history, and it's going to be pretty difficult to figure out where they go from here. But Jose Quintana will get the start. We'll get the American League lines in a second. Max Scherzer, a 2-hour game, 2.5-hour game. He had to go in a hurry. He had to beat the Marlins. He had to shut them out on a 3-1 victory, complete game victory. Max Scherzer goes the distance, 3-1 victory by the Nationals. They've won 4 in a row. They're tied for first in the National League East with those New York Mets. Max Scherzer had to leave right after the game. He couldn't do the press conference. He had to go. His wife was giving birth. Everybody's pitchers should have their wives or girlfriends giving birth, because then these games will be under 3 hours if that's the case. I'm just kidding. We don't want all that to happen. I don't want to put anything on anybody, but that's what happened. He pitched a complete game in less than 2.5 hours. The Marlins and the Nationals won 3-1. Then he rushed to the hospital to be with his wife for the delivery. Congratulations to the Scherzers on the new addition. How about Jesus Luzardo out here in the Bay Area? Not big. The Oakland A's rotation, they played well after that horrible start. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Baltimore Orioles over the weekend. It's kind of an up and down team. Don't want to say Jekyll and Hyde yet, although when you win 12 in a row after going 1-6, I don't know what else to describe it. But apparently Jesus Luzardo, and I'm not big on him and Montas in the rotation right now. They got to do something about rotation, because those days that they're in, the bullpen gets overrun, and it showed in some of the games that they've had over the last couple of weeks. But it's one thing to get hurt when you're playing. It's another thing to get hurt when you're not playing. Jesus Luzardo, and he didn't tell his team, he ended up pitching on Saturday with a broken pinky. Why did he break his pinky, you asked? He was playing video games. I don't know what video games he is. I'm not a video game guy. But Jesus Luzardo broke his pinky, ended up pitching on Saturday. He had no control whatsoever. And now that it makes sense, because he walked the house for the first 2 innings, the Orioles ended up beating Oakland on Saturday after taking the Friday night game as well, too. And Baltimore takes 2 out of 3 from the A's this weekend. The A's really could have gotten swept if it wasn't for Laureano yesterday. Ramon Laureano hits a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 9th inning. Bottom of the 8th inning, and then the A's close it out and get a 8-6 or 7-5 victory. Don't have the scores in front of me, but the A's won. They're still in first place in the American League West. We'll get to all that in a second. The Miami Marlins, we talked about them losing to the Nationals yesterday. Max Scherzer, the complete game shutout, complete game, 9 innings, 3-1 victory. Here's the funny stat, and if this doesn't say anything about pandemic baseball right now, in our wagering world, run differential is a big deal, because when you're laying points or giving points or getting points in terms of basketball and football, you want to know what's the average, what is the average they're beating other teams by or losing to other teams by. Miami Marlins are in last place in the National League East, but they're the only team in the National League East that has a run differential of +4. Every other team, the Mets, the Nationals, the Braves, Who's the other National League team? Nationals, Pirates, Braves. They're all four of them are negative run differential. Miami is +4 in run differential. In fact, I'll look it up right now. I'll look that up and I'll get to it later. But Miami, the only team in the National League East in last place, has a +4 run differential. Go figure. Pandemic baseball. More baseball notes to talk about. Kansas City and Boston, after 1 month in the season, the Boston Red Sox have probably surprised a lot of people. They're in first place, and they've got a 2-game lead. The Yankees and Toronto in second, Yankees in third. Both have 3-game winning streaks. They're catching up to the Red Sox pretty quick. The Yankees have played horrible defense this year, and they don't have starting pitching after Garrett Cole. Although Corey Kluber pitched great, but he did pitch great against the Tigers. The Tigers have not had a successful run this year so far. Anything outside of Matthew Boyd has been really bad for the Tigers. In fact, I think if you want to look at run differential to see how bad they're, I think I saw they're -46 or something like that in the American League Central. But good for the Kansas City Royals. They're in first place. The White Sox lost their center fielder, Luis Robert. He had to be carried off the field. I didn't see the injury, but I read that he had to be carried off the field. And that's a serious injury when you get carried off the field, and he's their young superstar center fielder. So they've got a couple of games lead. What do you think about the White Sox? They're +22 in run differential. They're a couple of games back in the AL Central. But there's been a lot of criticism of Tony La Russa lately in terms of his managing, like he's forgotten things. And I would never say that a manager of Tony La Russa's stature has forgotten things. He knows more baseball than me, you, and everybody else on this podcast combined. But some of the mistakes that have been going on in terms of strategy have kind of showed itself in terms of how they're winning and losing games. But they've got the offense to come back through it. Their pitching has been pretty good in their bullpen. Hendricks has blown a couple of saves already, but the White Sox are there, and they're going to challenge Kansas City. Cleveland got the victory over Lucas Giolito at Chicago yesterday. 2-0 win. 2-0 Cleveland was up, and they ended up winning that game. I'll have the scores up here. I should have the scores up here. Let me get the scores up here. I'm Bossy Bonaparty. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast. Casey and Charlie are off today. They're on assignment. Joe Madden checking in with us from Hustle and Grind. Check her show out daily, every day on the Stables Media Network and on her YouTube channel as well. I think her Facebook page also has it as well too. Happy Monday to you, Joe. Where are the winners? I see you're all doing great. I see Lady D doing everything as well too. From the post that I saw, she had a great day yesterday. So let me get these standings out here because I'm curious as to what the Major League Baseball standings are. This is my thinking face. I know you can still see me on camera, but this is my thinking face. Mets, Nationals, Phillies, Braves, all negative run differential, 12, 14, 17, 16. Miami Marlins +4 in last place, the only positive team in a run differential. The Baltimore Orioles, they are 3.5 back in last place of the Boston Red Sox. The Yankees 14 and 14. The Blue Jays 14 and 12. The Rays are 14 and 15. They go to Anaheim for 4 games this week. And of course, the Orioles are 13 and 15. So I'm looking at all the divisions in Major League Baseball right now. Boston to Baltimore, 3.5 games separates 5 teams in the American League East. In the American League Central, the Tigers, we've already talked about the Tigers. Oh, I was wrong. I gave them a little more credit. -62 in run differential. 62 by 29 games. That's over 2 runs on average, 2+ runs on average that they're losing by. And that's not good because over the year, that's going to end up being very bad. So they're going to be probably $2 underdogs the rest of the year in games other than what Matthew Boyd when Matthew Boyd starts, because when he starts, he's their best chance right now to win. So instead of laying $3 on the Yankees or any other team that's going to be facing them, start looking at -1.5 run lines or -0.5 run line against the Tigers in terms of how they go. Hey Joe, how are you? Let's see this. How about that Wild Cubbies game yesterday? Yeah, I'm going to get to that, Joe. Thanks for watching on the Facebook channel as well as the YouTube channel. Let's get back here. Again, Bossy Bonaparty here. Let's get back to the notes here as we're going. Kansas City, Boston, the NL Central, Chicago, Cincinnati are heating up. A walk-off win by the Reds yesterday, 13-12, the victory. But a lot of bad blood. I don't know. Anytime Anthony Rizzo and the Cincinnati Reds get together, there's always going to be sparks. A few years ago, it was Aroldis Chapman. When he was a member of the Reds when he was a younger player. He and Rizzo got into it near the first base line the last couple of days. Amir Garrett, another left-hander out of the bullpen of the Reds, struck out Rizzo in one of the games, and I guess he celebrated pretty heavily as well too. And Rizzo doesn't like it. Baez didn't like it, and they almost went to it as well too. Some of the things about that series is we look at the National League standings. The Central Division has been very interesting. The Cubs were in second place about 4 days ago. The Brewers are leading the Cardinals by 1 game. Cardinals on a 4-game winning streak. The Reds won their game yesterday. They are 13-14. Pittsburgh 12-15. Surprisingly, 12-15 for the Pirates. Cubs are 12-16 in last place. But in the Central, the separation from 1 to 5 is 5 games. So everybody's still in it, believe it or not. In terms of run differential, Pittsburgh Pirates are minus 26. So there you go. They better start getting some offense. But I like the Pittsburgh Pirates core on offense. Pitching, we'll have to see. In the National League West, we have the National League West. The Giants are plus 25. They're in first place by half a game. And I got a lot of flack for being a Dodgers fan. I'm an unabashed Dodgers fan. I grew up in Southern California. I get it. This is Giants territory where I live. But, I can like both teams. And to all of you that say that that's not that can't happen, you can't like both teams. Yes, you can. You can like both teams as long as when they play each other, you still have your loyalties to your team. So the Giants are a half game up on the Dodgers on May 3rd. So do I look worried? I don't plan on being worried. Big game yesterday for A.J. Pollock and Matt Beattie. 15 RBIs between the two of them. They finally got out of their hitting shoes. The Dodgers are 3-7 in their last 10. They're plus 45 in run differential. Giants plus 25. How about that game yesterday in San Diego? I thought they were going to go down again. Friday and Saturday, the Giants had 28 strikeouts and 54 plate appearances. You're not going to win that way unless you get clutch hitting. Yesterday they got clutch hitting. They ended up beating San Diego. Kicked San Diego a game and a half, 2 back in the loss column of the Giants right now. San Diego has Pittsburgh tonight as they make the trip out west. So that's some of the stuff going on in baseball right now. Let's get to the National League lines, as we said. Milwaukee 8.5 the total with Adrian Hauser and Vince Velasquez. This is not the Vince Velasquez from 5 or 6 years ago. It's a different Vinny Velasquez. He's actually filling in for Matt Moore on the bump today. So Philadelphia, they better figure out a way to get over that game last night, because from about the 7th inning on, they looked terrible and they were flat. Bryce Harper hurt his hand on a swing. How about that? Bryce Harper hurt his hand on a swing, and on a 1-2 count, excuse me, when they were down 8-4, he tries to bunt with 2 strikes, bunted it foul, and went straight to the dugout. Trainer came over and looked at him. He ended up striking out to end the game yesterday after the Rhys Hoskins double was overturned. It hit the railing. I didn't see the end of it because I had the over in the game, so I switched over to the Lakers game last night. But apparently there was a ball that was questioned whether it was a home run or not to tie the game for Philadelphia. They overturned it. Hoskins ended up on base. It was 8-7 because the Mets bullpen is also kerosene as well too. And Bryce Harper strikes out to end the game, and the Phillies go down to the loss. Mets hold first place for another day with the Washington Nationals. The only reason the Mets are ahead of the Nationals is that they're 1 game ahead in the loss column. Nationals have played more games than the Mets have, 12-12 versus 11-11. Talked about the NL Central. We talked about the NL West. Let's go to the American League lines as we talked about it. Again, Busted Battle Party here. Make the Money and Run podcast Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays, 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific. Also, check out some of the interview segments we had. We had a former coach on, John Makovic, last week. He broke down the quarterbacks really well yesterday, and pretty much to a T of what happened last week. Pretty much went on according to Coach Makovic there, and he did a great job with us on the interview, and it was good to have him. It was good to see him as well, too. So check out Stables Media for all those other shows as well, too. Again, thanks to Joe Madden. Hustle and grind every day, daily. Her and Cammie Parsons and Lady D are picking winners. And really, if that's all you want, that's what we try and do as well, too. I know they watch our show. I watch their show whenever we can. But combined, we're doing okay. I'm bringing their average down, but they're doing great. And definitely check them out. Check out all the other programs on Stables Media. All right, so the American League games today. What is going on with the Minnesota Twins? Minnesota should have come in here and should have dominated this division. The White Sox are pretty good. Nobody thought the Kansas City Royals would be this good. Props to Mike Matheny. He's a better game manager in Kansas City the second time around than he was in St. Louis. I think there were some mistakes early in his tenure in St. Louis that he made. but now he's got a really good team. They've got a really good bullpen. They're going with Daniel Lynch tonight on the hill. He's fill-in for Jacob Junis, who's one of their aces on the Royals. But so that's why they're an underdog to Cleveland. Cleveland did come off that victory yesterday, as we said. Cleveland did come off that victory yesterday from Chicago. Let me see if I get these scores up here. You know what? It would help if I had these scores up in front of me. So let's do that here. So yesterday, in terms of scores, Corey Kluber beat the Tigers 2-0. Where's the White Sox score here? 2-0. 5-0 Indians over the White Sox yesterday. Zach Plesac the win over the White Sox ace Lucas Giolito, having a so-so year so far for the White Sox. The Royals got blown out by the Twins, but they took 2 out of 3 in Minnesota. Minnesota Twins, we were talking about the Twins going into it. Minnesota Twins, with that offense, they should be scoring runs left and right. Their pitching staff has been so-so. Kenta Maeda is their ace. He goes tonight. He's a $1.73 favorite. You can't rely on the defense with Kenta Maeda, a ground ball pitcher and a sinker pitcher right now. 173 may be very high for Texas. Texas is playing really well. Texas took 2 out of 3 from the Angels last week. They are coming in. They're pretty hot. They're 5 games back in the American League West right now. 4 games back in the American League West. They've won 2 in a row, and they have played really well. So to think that it's just going to be an easy game for Kenta Maeda and the Minnesota Twins tonight may not be the case. Dane Dunning has pitched really well in his limited time with the Tigers. He was with the White Sox before, I think. It was the same guy I'm thinking of. Dane Dunning was there, but the Indians 13-13, White Sox 15-12, the Royals 16-10. The Minnesota Twins are 10-16. Are you kidding me? And the reason that they're 10-16 is because their defense is horrible. They can't play defense right now. If they're not leading the league in errors, major leagues in errors, they're near the top of the American League. There's just no way that they can win without defense right now. Byron Buxton is one of the best center fielders, one of the fastest guys in the league. He will get anything. He will go get anything. But you can't have all 27 balls hit the center field to Byron Buxton. You got to have the other 7 guys on the infield and your catcher behind the plate helping you out on offense. I can't think of anybody that struck out 27 in a row in a game. Obviously, that'll never happen. But you got to think that he's got to get Minnesota pitching. He's got to get help on defense, and that's a lot of the reason they're 10-16 right now, and it's not good in Minnesota, and they're going to have a tough time in the second half of the year. Maybe in Minnesota when the weather gets warmer. If anybody's in Minnesota watching right now, checking out the podcast, somebody send me a Facebook comment or a YouTube comment. Tell me how the weather is in Minnesota right now, because they're going to have Texas in there for 3 days, and it's a big stretch for Texas as well too. They're 4 games back. The Angels are not playing great. They're going to have Tampa Bay tonight. Ohtani is sitting down for whatever reason. I haven't read the reports yet of what ails him that he's not going to be able to make the start tonight. The Angels get shut out by Justice Sheffield yesterday, 2-0 in Seattle. They lose 2 of 3 to the Mariners, who are in second place behind the A's. It's amazing to me that the Angels have played this way all through Mike Trout's career. He's never been to the playoffs more than once. The one time they got to the playoffs was in 2015. They got swept in the divisional series by the Royals 3-0, and Trout and Pujols and all those guys that they have, that massive offense that they have with all those names, couldn't do anything in that series. And right now, Mike Trout's been in the playoffs 1 time in his 9 years in the big leagues. That's not good for baseball. That's not good for Mike Trout. That's not good for anybody. I know he's there for 13 years, or contract is 13 years. But Mike Trout has got to be in the playoffs. People don't know who Mike Trout is. Mike Trout's the best player in baseball. And if he's only been in the playoffs 1 time, your casual fans are not going to know who Mike Trout is, like casual fans know who LeBron James is in the NBA, like people know who Patrick Mahomes is in the NFL, or anybody for that matter that gets a lot more publicity and recognition. I know Mike Trout doesn't go out there and give himself a lot of props and all that, but he's got to get in the playoffs, and the Angels have to get a bullpen for them to get there, and they have trouble on defense too. Pitching and defense, I don't care how many bats you have, will win you baseball games. That's just the way it goes. So check out the teams that are making errors right now. Maybe it'll warm up in Minnesota. Maybe the bats will get going as well too, because if you're not hitting and you're making errors, it's definitely gonna hurt a pitching staff. And right now, Minnesota feeling it in the American League Central. Cleveland, a 113 favorite at Kansas City with Aaron Savali, and Daniel Lynch going. Lynch coming in for Jacob Junis, as we said, 113, 8.5. Cleveland with a 5-0 win over Chicago. over the weekend. They take 2 out of 3 over the White Sox, and they're right there in third place in the American League Central. Got to think Kansas City is going to be favored, but boy, it's hard to go against Kansas City right now, especially at home as an underdog. You don't get situations like that where a first place team is an underdog. But I would do your research on Daniel Lynch and figure out where he comes from and what his makeup is, what his last starts were, what his outings were before you look at that as well too. I'll have picks at the end. But we'll just go from there. But okay, so we talked about Tampa Bay. So that line changed, obviously, with Ohtani not starting. Tyler Glasnow has been one of the best pitchers. A lot of you probably remember him from the World Series last year. He's got this unbelievable knuckle curve that just dies to the plate. He was a former Pittsburgh Pirate, traded to the Tampa Bay Rays 2 years ago, and he's been nothing but stellar for that team. And they've proven it by going to the playoffs and the World Series the last couple of years. $1.60 on the road at the Angels. Jose Quintana in for Ohtani. Quintana for Ohtani. Say that 3 times. Jose Quintana in for Shohei Ohtani tonight. $1.50 underdog, 8 the total. Warm weather in Anaheim tonight. I know they had some rain in San Diego, but warm weather in Anaheim tonight. Could fly a little bit, but Tyler Glasnow is a strikeout machine, and the Angels strike out a lot. And right now, the Angels are not going good after their weekend in Seattle. And then Oakland, a 118 favorite, 8.5 the total. They lost 2 out of 3 to Baltimore this weekend. Toronto, what did Toronto do yesterday? Where were they at? They were at home. They beat the Braves 2 out of 3, and Atlanta is scuffling a little bit too. So we'll talk about the National League again, but the Atlanta Braves have not played well. They lost 2 out of 3 in Dunedin, Florida, where Toronto is playing. But Toronto got a 7-2 victory. I said earlier, Jesus Luzardo broke his pinky playing video games. Jesus Luzardo and Frankie Montas have been the 2 weak links right now in the Oakland A's rotation. I know they got Mike Fiers back the other day, and he didn't pitch all that great against the Orioles. They only lost 3-2. It wasn't his fault. The A's bats just didn't get going. And give Baltimore credit. John Means is a very underrated pitcher with Baltimore. He's like Matthew Boyd for the Tigers. Their best pitchers on 2 of the worst teams in the American League right now, although Baltimore is playing better. Oakland, a 118 favorite. Steven Matz finally lost his first game. He was 4-0 for all of April. Could have been easily pitcher of the month. Steven Matz, I believe he lost his last start. Let's check this out here. I like how we're doing this on the fly here. Steven Matz is 4-1 with an ERA of 4.00. Doesn't sound impressive in this day and age, and playing at Dunedin in a spring training ballpark. A 4 ERA is very good considering everything that's going on in Canada right now that they have to play in Dunedin. Hi, Joe, again. Every time I say Canada, I'm going to say hi, Joe Madden and Cammie Parsons and everybody up there in Canada. Hope you're all doing well. Thanks for tuning into the show. Steven Matz, 4-1, 4 ERA. Frankie Montas, 1-1, 2-2, 6.20 ERA. And he has walked a lot of people, and he has not pitched well. His hits to inning pitch is not very good. Steven Matz, 4-0, as I said, in the month of April, or 4-1 in the month of April with a 4 ERA. He also got a lot of run support. The former New York Met is finding his way in Toronto. Toronto has won 3 in a row. They're hot. I got to think that might be a Blue Jays game tonight as an underdog. You're not going to get very many 4-1 pitchers that are underdogs tonight in the wagering world as we see. So that's some of the American League stuff going on. Let me check the baseball notes here. What else we got going on here? The MLB notes. That's the NBA notes. We'll get to the NBA in a second, but check out stablesmedia.com. Check out all the shows that we have on there. We mentioned Hustle and Grind, Freedom and Rock. Tony Russo, our fearless leader, has a couple of shows out there, and we're working out some of the website stuff. You'll be able to get to the website directly. My YouTube channel, Vasu Vada Party. You can find me on Facebook. You can find Casey on Facebook, Charlie O on Facebook. By the way, let me give some props here before we get to commercial and talk NBA. We'll get to the NFL draft in a second. As I said, I'm not a big fan of the NFL draft. I'm happy for those kids, and I'll explain why. But as far as the draft itself, wake me up when it's over. Good thing I got a shot. I could have slept through it anyway. But thanks to Charlie O on Thursday and Friday. I want to shout him out again. Did a great job filling in for Casey and I, who were not in on Thursday and Friday. I know he was going through it, and he hasn't had a lot of experience in terms of using the format on the streaming side, but he did a great job getting these banners up and doing everything in regards to putting on a good show. Charlie's a pro, and for those that don't know, Charlie was my mentor years ago at San Jose State when I was doing campus radio. So I know he can handle it, and I know he did a great job. I watched a little bit of it, and he did a great job. And Casey's on assignment as well, too. He's got some stuff going on as well. So by the time Thursday rolls around, one or all three of us or two of us will be back on Thursday, and we'll get ready for the weekend baseball as well as the NBA as it winds down towards the play-in tournament. NBA, NFL draft to come up, the Make the Money and Run podcast Monday, May 3rd. Can you believe it's in May already? I cannot believe it. Last year, the year went so slow, and yet here we are, May 2021, May 3rd, coming up, and good baseball starting to happen. The NBA is starting to wind down its regular season. And we don't talk a lot of hockey, but we'll get into some hockey stuff down the road as we get to the playoffs as well, too. So check out the other shows on Stables Media. Check out my show. It's called A Conversation With. Long-form interviews there. Had John Makovic on, the former college and pro football coach. Also worked at ESPN as an analyst. Check out anything on Stables Media. If you have any questions, you can reach us there. You can get to us as well on our Make the Money and Run podcast, MTMAR podcast at gmail.com. We're on Twitter at MTMAR podcast. Of course, as I said, all three of us are on Facebook. We also have a Make the Money and Run Facebook page as well, too. All right, in 30 seconds, we're going to talk NBA, and then we'll get to the NFL draft. Vasu Vadaparty here for the Make the Money and Run podcast. See you in 30. Welcome back, Vasu Vadaparty for the Make the Money and Run podcast for Monday, May 3rd, 2021. Casey Freelev, Charlie O on assignment. So before I cough in everybody's face, let's just welcome back. We're here every Monday, Thursday, Friday, 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific time. Facebook Live, the Stables Media YouTube page, as well as my YouTube page. Find me and Vasu Vadaparty on YouTube as well to check out all the videos that are there. Check out stablesmedia.com. We're powered by Stables Media. Check out Facebook and YouTube. If you miss any of the live broadcasts, you can download and subscribe on Apple and Spotify or anywhere you get your podcast Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays. But we know it's a streaming world nowadays. You can get anything you want streaming, and hopefully we're one of your choices as we get into baseball season. Make your picks, get some advice. Check out your own research and do what you can to make the money and run. All right, we talked a lot of baseball, a lot more baseball to go. Once again, to all the San Francisco Giants fan friends that I have out here living in the Bay Area, calm down. It's May 3rd. You're half a game up in the standings. They're playing great. They're playing unbelievable baseball. Their defense is what's really helped them. Their starting pitching and the defense has been great because they're still not hitting the ball. They're only hitting about 220 or 225. So see how it goes. The Dodgers plus 45 run differential. The weekend of the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of a little self-promotion here. That is my birthday weekend. The Dodgers will be visiting San Francisco for 3 games. The Saturday game will be on national TV. I will be there during the weekend. And if anybody's in San Francisco and wants to swing by, say happy birthday, tell us they like the show. It'd be great to see you. Great to meet our listener base, our viewership base. It's always good to hear from people out there. I want to give a shout out on the banners here to where are we on the comments here to Joe. Appreciate it, Joe. We're killing it. Well, hopefully we're killing it. So appreciate it. You guys are killing it over there on Hustle and Grind as well too. So you guys keep that up as well. And Joe, appreciate it. Hey, Vasu, how about the Wild Cubbies game? Yeah, we already went through that. Keep it up on Facebook. Keep it up on YouTube. We appreciate it. All right, let's get to the NBA today. How about the NBA? Let's look at the lines first before we get to the NBA notes. It was a very interesting weekend in terms of the NBA. Detroit and Orlando, yawn, who cares? 8 games to go. But you know what? As the old joke goes, it doesn't matter who you bet on. They all pay 110 to 100. So Detroit, a 1.5-point favorite at home against Orlando, 211. That's a pretty low line for Detroit. You got to think that Orlando has been playing well lately. In fact, they had a victory over Memphis, I believe, the other night. But this is a road game for Orlando, and they usually don't play well on the road. And Jeremy Grant is back for Detroit. He's averaging 23 a game for them. 1.5-point favorite. What Detroit team will show up? Probably a stay-away game. Here's the one that I'm interested in. Actually, we'll get to the one that I'm interested in a little bit. But are you watching the ESPN version of the Golden State Warriors and New Orleans Pelicans tonight? The Pelicans got the overtime victory against Minnesota. Minnesota scores a ton of points. Find out what their over-unders are for the rest of the 8 or 9 games. Shout out to Dave Benz, TV announcer on Fox Sports North. But he's watching a lot of offense on that team, and they're not playing any defense. Their over-unders in the betting world are going off the charts. And we'll get to that in a second. But the Pelicans and the Warriors are going to play on ESPN tonight. I don't know if it's going to be available for us in the Bay Area. If we're only regulated by local broadcasts. I hope we get ESPN because I'm interested. I'm not a Marvel fan, but I'm curious to see what Disney and ESPN do for this broadcast. Apparently, it's some kind of Marvel production that they're doing for the Warriors and the Pelicans tonight. New Orleans, a 2.5-point favorite. Golden State, 236. Somebody have to equate the superheroes to me for Zion Williamson and Steph Curry. I guess if there's a sharpshooter Marvel character, that Steph Curry will be considered that. If there's like a thunderous lightning bolt type of powerful superhero in the Marvel comics that I missed from the days that I read comic books, which were years ago, that Zion Williamson will be. So I'll be interested to see what ESPN does on that. Hopefully I'll be able to watch it somewhere instead of watching regular TV. Love our local guys, know our local guys, but I'd be interested to see what Marvel's doing on ESPN tonight with that game. So the Pelicans, a 2.5-point favorite, still in the playoff hunt, barely in the playoff hunt. We'll get to the standings in a little bit, but I just think that Pelicans are fighting an uphill battle right now. And you know why? Same thing in baseball as in basketball. Play defense. If you don't play defense, you're not going to win. You can't trade baskets, especially when it gets this late in the year. Here you are fighting for a chance to get in the playoffs. New Orleans and Toronto and Chicago in the East. You just got to play defense, play a little defense and hit some more shots. And not, and by the way, this is a get off my lawn moment. I understand it's 21st century sports, 21st century baseball with the strikeout, the walk, and the home run. How about going for a layup every once in a while? Not every shot in the game has to be a 3-point shot. I think I saw a game the other day. I can't remember who it was, but they took like 94 shots for the game, 94 field goal attempts, and 53 of them were 3-point shots. 53 of them. I understand if you make 20 of them, you get 60 points out of it, and that's 30 field goals if you equate it out to a 2-point shot. But that doesn't help your game at all because the odds are still better to get as many shots as you can to get up there, whether they're in close or whether if you're wide open for 15 feet, take a shot. Nobody else is going to help you. Nobody's going to begrudge you for taking a shot if you're wide open. Play some defense. That's the only way you're going to win in the playoffs. All right, now that I've told everybody to get off my lawn and I've isolated everybody in this generation, let's move on with the lines. So the Atlanta Hawks, I'm interested to see what's going on with the Atlanta Hawks because I don't believe, and I haven't watched a lot of them, I'll admit, since baseball started, it's been a little lacking in the NBA in terms of picks for me. But as much as I can read, Trae Young, maybe somebody on Facebook can help me. Robbie, where are you? Trae Young was out for a couple of weeks. But they're a 2.5-point favorite tonight against Portland. So I would check those injury reports and see what's going on with Atlanta. 2.5 against Portland, who had 2 victories over the weekend. They crushed Brooklyn on Friday night. I know Brooklyn has their moments, but they crushed them on Friday night on the road. Then they win against the Celtics over the weekend as well. So 2 wins for Portland. They're in 7th in the Western Conference, which is still the play-in slot. In fact, I'll look at it right now. They're 7th. They're even with the Lakers for 36 and 28. The Lakers have the tiebreaker, so that's why they're in the 6th spot. Portland, Memphis, Golden State, and San Antonio are 7 and 10 in the West. In the East, Miami is 35 and 30 after 2 wins this weekend. Boston, after the loss yesterday, 34 and 31. The Hornets, Pacers, and Wizards are 8, 9, and 10. We'll get to the Pacers and Wizards game in a second, but Portland, 2.5-point underdog against Atlanta, 235.5 the total. Lillard's out of his mind, shooting all angles. Everybody knows about Steph Curry because they've been in the championship games. But Dame Lillard and C.J. McCollum in Portland are two to deal with every day, all day, 7 days a week. Philadelphia 76ers. If Joel Embiid didn't miss a lot of games this year, he's my MVP candidate because he plays defense. Jokic and the Nuggets have played well this year, and no Jamal Murray, and they've had a ton of injuries, and they're in 4th place in the West. He's played great, and he does everything for them. They're a 4.5-point favorite at the Lakers. We'll get to the Lakers and the Celtics in a little bit, but Philadelphia 6 at Chicago, 211.5. Chicago playing their way out of the playoff picture. No Zach LaVine still. In fact, they're in 12th place now. They're even with the Raptors, but they're 12th place, 3 games back of the Washington Wizards, who are in 10th place in the Eastern Conference. Let's see, moving on here. The Memphis Grizzlies, -3.5 against the Knicks. The Knicks got a big win against the Rockets yesterday. In fact, while I'm doing this, I'm going to check Twitter because I'm doing the calculations in my head, and I'm pretty good about this in terms of magic numbers. To me, it looks like the Knicks, based on the standings, have clinched a playoff spot because they cannot be caught by the Washington Wizards. Let me add this up here. They are 36 and 30. Maybe not. Okay, the magic number is 2. Washington Wizards are in 10th place, but they wouldn't finish any lower than 10th, which tells me that they would make the playoff spot. So that victory against the Rockets last night should have put them in the playoff spot. I'm waiting for NBA PR right now on Twitter to update that or get back to me on Twitter to find out why the Knicks don't have an X next to them on the, I was going to say the newspaper, but I want to alienate my audience again on what a newspaper is. But on the website where it says Y for division and X for playoff spot. But here is New York in 5th place, 4th place, I think now. 4th place at 36 and 28, 4 games back in Milwaukee. They probably won't catch Milwaukee. They're definitely not going to catch Brooklyn or Philadelphia. And then Atlanta at 35 and 30, with Miami at 35 and 30 as well too. Hopefully somebody will get to me on the Trae Young situation. But Memphis a 3.5-point favorite against the New York Knicks, and it's important for Memphis because, as I said, in the West, they are in 8th. They're 3 games back in Portland for that 7th spot, but they're also fighting off Golden State and San Antonio, who are tied for 9th. Actually, San Antonio is in 10th officially, who are tied for 9th in losses in the loss column. 32-32 for the Warriors, 31-32 for San Antonio. Don't worry about the half games in the standings. It's all about how many losses you have and how many games you are in the loss column. That goes for baseball. That goes for basketball as well too, because not everybody's played the same number of games yet. But everybody will get to 72 by the time May 14th rolls around, which is about a week away from that. May 18th, May 17th, the play-in tournament start, and it will run through Friday the 21st. It's my birthday again. And then the playoffs will start on Sunday for the next round of the NBA playoffs. They will seed 1 to 8, just like they do in previous years. What a weird year we've had these last 2 years. There's no other way to put that. Okay, Memphis, so 3.5. We explained their detail in the playoff position. Utah, 7.5, 221 over San Antonio. Are you feeling confident about Utah? Donovan Mitchell's been out, and I know he's the main cog in terms of what's going on. They go into slumps every once in a while. Mike Conley's been great. Rudy Gobert in the center spot has been really good defensively. He might win Player of the Year defensively again too. But they give up a lot of points. They just lost to Minnesota twice. I told you Minnesota can score. Minnesota can score. They can't stop anybody. So it's just a matter if they make more shots than you do on any given night. And the Minnesota Timberwolves, if they can figure out how to play any defense, could be a contender in the next 3 to 5 years. So San Antonio lost a tough overtime game to Philadelphia. They were 10.5-point underdogs to Philadelphia. They lost in overtime. They covered the 10.5 at home. The reason they were 10.5 at home was because DeMar DeRozan didn't play yesterday. And I think Greg Popovich, the head coach, will have DeRozan play tonight against Utah because these are big spots for his team to get into the playoffs. And I know they're probably thinking doesn't matter if they get 7 to 10, they'll probably lose anyway to the top seeds as it is. But as I look at the standings, I want to look at these Western standings again. Phoenix and Utah now tied after the 2 losses by Utah. Phoenix got a win yesterday over Oklahoma City. We'll get to that in a second. 46 and 18. Denver at 3rd place now, half game better than the Clippers, 43 and 21. And also by virtue of the fact Saturday night, Denver went into the Clippers. This poor little Denver team, too bad about Jamal Murray. Monty Morris is out, their backup point guard. They got frontline guys that are injured. Millsap's not having a great year for them. And yet here they are in 3rd place, 43 and 21. If they go on a hot streak the rest of the year, I guess it would have to be Nikola Jokic as the MVP because he's playing out of his mind. He plays guard, he plays forward, he plays center. He's a 50-40-90 guy, if you don't know what that is. He and Chris Middleton are the 2 closest guys in the NBA right now at 50, 40, and 90. That's 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line. And have you seen Jokic? Not exactly the best body in the world. I mean, he's no Zeus or he's no Apollo, but it's not a bad body, and he's athletic. He doesn't run with everybody, but he can do everything that anybody else can do in the league, and probably better than 90% of the players in this league. Lakers lost last night to Toronto at home. LeBron James, first game back. He and Davis both played. They were up on Toronto. I watched that game. I had the over 214 in that game with Toronto and the Lakers last night, and they looked good. They got 70 points in the first quarter, 40 for the Lakers, 32 42. It was 70 after the first quarter. 40-30. They were up 10 after one. And then Toronto methodically chipped away. Kyle Lowry had a great game. Siakam had a great game. Turnovers. What are turnovers equal to? Turnovers are equal to errors in baseball. You can't commit turnovers. You can't let a hot team like Toronto come back and shoot as well as they did last night. Lowry hit threes. Siakam hit threes. They were on fire. Rodney Hood, who came over from Portland. They are 11th in the NBA on the Eastern Conference standings right now. They are 3 games back of Washington in the loss column. So the magic number for them is 6 for Washington clinch. I haven't even talked about the Wizards yet, but Toronto goes into LA. You got to remember, everybody, and this is just something that I don't know if people understand this or not. You're playing for your playoff lives if you're 6-10 right now in both conferences. Every game going to the end of the regular season is like a playoff game. If you're playing a team that's already clinched, like Brooklyn or Philadelphia, if they care about the number 1 or number 2 seeds, that's another story. But they're in the playoffs. These teams are fighting for their playoff lives. They're going to give you their best A effort every night. And you can't take anybody lightly in the NBA. These are pro players. The Phoenix Suns had a big lead on Oklahoma City last night. They were a 17-point favorite on the road to Oklahoma City. Why were they a 17-point favorite? Well, because Indiana scored 152 points, beat them by 57 in Oklahoma City on Saturday night. That's why Phoenix was a 17-point favorite. You don't think they have pride? You don't think they have resolve? You don't think they're professionals? They were down 18 points. They were down 20 points to Phoenix. The game ended up to be a 3-point game. Phoenix did not cover, didn't even come close to covering 17 points. Oklahoma City covered 17 points. If I had followed a little bit more of the NBA, I would have taken Oklahoma City plus 17. Not even had a second thought about that. Ended up being a close game at the end. I think Phoenix ended up winning by 6, if I'm actually remember the score right. But I do remember seeing the score on my phone at 123-120 with like 25 seconds ago or something like that. But anyway, these are professional players. You cannot take the game for granted. You cannot cheat the game. A lot of old-time people say that. Don't cheat the game, and that's exactly the reason. Phoenix almost got it handed to them by taking it lightly toward the end. All right, the last game of the night, I wanted to mention the Washington Wizards are in 10th place. They were the laughingstock for about a month and a half into the season because Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal weren't getting along. Russell Westbrook was turning the ball over. He's a great player. He can't shoot. The Washington Wizards have gone from laughingstock to playing really well for the last 3 weeks. And even Charlie O mentioned it 3 weeks ago on the NBA on TNT about how good Washington is. Washington's a 4-point favorite tonight over Indiana. Indiana's ahead of them in the standings by 2 games. Indiana at 30-33, Washington at 29-35. So actually Indiana has 9 games left to play. Washington has 8. So Indiana has that in their bag of tricks as well too. That they have one more game left more than the Wizards do. And that'll be important if it comes down to it. I don't know what the head-to-head matchup is, but because of the head-to-head matchup, this could end up being a big deal. Washington, 4-point favorite against Indiana. Are you looking at that total? The total we have on the screen, 246. That is intramural CYO, no defense, just come down the floor and just jack it up from 28 feet. I know that's the NBA, and I know that's what they do a lot anyway, but Washington -4 against Indiana, 246. Indiana had a big output the other night. I forgot who they played, but they had 132. Oh, it was Portland. They had a 250-point game against Portland last week in the middle, and Indiana got blown out by Portland. So Portland's on a 3-game winning streak. Last I checked. Let's see this. I think Indiana, Brooklyn, and Boston. They've won 4 in a row, so that includes in that stretch as well too. So Portland playing well in that regard. Washington and Indiana are going to be a big game tonight in the NBA because I know it's for the 9th and 10th spot, but the head-to-head matchup will determine the tiebreaker if it comes down to that at the end. So Washington, Indiana, Washington -4, 246 total. So that's your look at the NBA. All right, we're going to take one more break. I'm just going to recap the draft because I'm not interested in the draft. I'm interested for the players. Congratulations to everybody got drafted, but I'm going to recap what went on with the 4 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. Talk a little bit more draft. Maybe I'll throw in a little Chicago Bears. And Aaron Rodgers had a temper tantrum. Is that shocking to you or not? Back in 30 seconds with the Make the Money and Run podcast draft recap, and then I'll give you some picks as we move along. I'm Boss Battle Party, Charlie O'Casey on assignment. Back in 30. back to the Make the Money and Run podcast for Monday, May 3rd, 2021. I cannot believe we're in May already in 2021. Have you been vaccinated? Are you taking care of yourselves? I hope everybody is. Let's get back out there and see each other at games. Let's get back and see each other at social venues, social distancing, whatever else is going on. Part of the reason I was out on Thursday is I got my vaccination, my second shot on Thursday afternoon. I didn't exactly take my own advice and drink a lot of water and rest. It's just not who I am. And I probably overdid it a little bit on Thursday and Friday. In other words, don't do what I do, but listen to my advice and drink a lot of water and get some rest. And if there's a possibility for you to do that as well too. But anyway, personal choice, whatever you want to do. But let's get everything back to normal. All we all want to do, and I think we all can agree to that, is let's just get back to normal. Let's figure out how to do this. I still have not been to a ballpark yet this year, which is shocking considering we're already 1 month in the baseball season. Working out of a studio, it's very very cold, very dry. No fans last year at a stadium. Very very serene, very quiet, very staid. You can hear conversations on the field. It's it's a very interesting venue. But May 3rd, 2021. Second shot in. I'll be, according to what they tell me, May 14th, May 13th will be the 2-week period. And from May 14th on, a little more traveling, getting out to some of these national sites for baseball games for this season coming up as well, too. And hopefully everybody and you and your family are safe and sound and healthy and going on with it. All right, a few more minutes here in the Make the Money and Run podcast. We're here Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific. You can download, subscribe anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. iHeartRadio is a big one too. Google Podcasts have been very big. I've gotten a lot of notice from them, and also SoundCloud as well too. You can also go on to stablesmedia.com, check out our other shows as well too. We're powered by Stables Media. Shout out to everybody at Stables Media. We've worked hard to get the site up, get this product up, and hopefully you're enjoying it as well. Shout out to everybody at Stables Media. All right, the draft last Thursday. I had my shot on Thursday. Teams took their shot. You want to see what I did there? I like that. Well, everybody's talking about the 4 quarterbacks in the first round. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones. Well, I live out here in the Bay Area, and you would think Mac Jones was the lowest thing to dirt and that they didn't want him. And now everybody seems to think Mac Jones was the guy. And then Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch kept it all quiet. And sure enough, they ended up taking Trey Lance. I don't even have him on here. Trey Lance on here. Lawrence, Wilson, Fields went to Chicago thanks to the New York Giants, Chicago Bears fan. Very shocking that Justin Fields ended up 11th with the Bears, but I'm glad he's there. And now they've got Andy Dalton there, and hopefully Matt Nagy will get some play calling and get some running backs. Well, they got David Montgomery, but get some receivers in there that these guys could go to and get some schemes set up where they can score some points. Mac Jones dropped all the way down to 15th. Kind of a Bill Belichick move. All of a sudden, Mac Jones was there. He likes Alabama guys. We know his relationship. For those that didn't see the HBO special last summer, he's got a great relationship with Nick Saban. So don't think that didn't play into it. Mac Jones was still available on the board. He had Cam Newton last year. They didn't make the playoffs. He watched Tom Brady go to the Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. By the way, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, all 22 starters are going to return this year for the first time in a long time that a team has had all 22 coming back from the Super Bowl season to this coming season as well, too. So Mac Jones will be the New England Patriots quarterback. What do you think out there on Facebook Live, YouTube, MTMAR podcast at Gmail? Mac Jones going to start from day one. What about Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson for Jacksonville and New York? Trey Lance, everybody loved Trey Lance's film. Not enough film to see him, but these guys know more football than all of us combined, and they like what his footwork is. He's got a rocket arm. Can you hit the 25-yard out? John Malkovich, the coach we had last week on, when he was quarterbacks coach for the Cowboys and when he was in college, he said the number one throw I like to see these quarterbacks make going into college and coming into the pros is can they make the 25-yard out pass to the sidelines. If they can make that pass, then you can work with them on everything else. So what are your opinions on this? Very interesting what happened. Trevor Lawrence, obviously, we knew was going to go to Jacksonville. I mean, there was no way they were going to trade it. You would have to offer him the next 10 drafts, every single player in the draft for Urban Meyer to trade that pick. So Trevor Lawrence will be there, probably start on day one for Jacksonville. Get some protection around him. And don't judge Trevor Lawrence on 1 year. Don't judge any of these players that came into the draft on year one. It takes time to learn the system, and it's going to be very interesting to see. But everybody loves Trevor Lawrence. They say he looks like Elway throwing. He can run a little bit. He can throw on the run. He's got a strong arm. Zach Wilson, I love, and I can't prove this. Robert Saleh, the coach of the New York Jets, was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers for 4 years. He and Shanahan probably have the same mindset in terms of players. Obviously, Robert Saleh on defense, Trevor Shanahan on offense. But you got to think that they are interested in the same type of player. But I'd be very interested to see what happens later on down the road if it comes out to see that Kyle Shanahan tried to offer whatever he could to get the number 2 pick. Because, again, I can't prove it, dollars to donuts, but I have a big gut instinct that he liked Zach Wilson the best after Trevor Lawrence. And I just think that Zach Wilson is the best quarterback coming out of this field. He could end up having a better year than Trevor Lawrence. The Jets have a great defense. They played well this year. They've got a really good left tackle in Becton, and they've got some guys on the offensive line that they could protect Sam Darnold in last couple of years, but Zach Wilson, a lot more mobile. And even though they say they didn't play anybody at BYU, I look for Zach Wilson to have a big year. Justin Fields out of Ohio State. Wow, big pickup for the Bears. I didn't think they had it in them to go after him. I thought they were going to settle for Andy Dalton and try and build up the defense or maybe get another quarterback back there. But they did. They got Justin Fields, a quarterback out there. Now Matt Nagy, a good offensive coordinator, can run some more things that he couldn't last year that he had with Trubisky. And Justin Fields has a great arm. He's a little injury prone. We'll see what happens. A lot of things said about his apparently there was an epileptic episode. Don't know what the case is on that, but I'm fired up for him to be on my Bears team. Just got to figure out how to beat Green Bay. Minnesota still with Cousins there. They drafted Kellen Mond for Texas A&M. Very interesting pick for the Minnesota Vikings to draft Kellen Mond, a 3-year starter at Texas A&M. And then, of course, Mac Jones out of Alabama. The other thing about the NFC North, Aaron Rodgers, I guess he threw a tantrum, or he had his agent throw tantrums out that he wanted to be traded. It didn't happen. He's still in Green Bay, and now he says he doesn't want to return unless the GM is fired. I don't know what to say about that. I like Aaron Rodgers. He's been here at Cal. He's done a lot of good work off the field, but some of these temper tantrums just don't sit well with a lot of people. And if he doesn't want to play, sit out. Doesn't matter. He's got a contract. He's got to play. Let him play. In fact, you know what? If they want to trade him out of division, trade him out of division. Let's make it easier for the Lions and the Vikings and the Bears to win this division. You've dominated that division long enough. You're doing great on Jeopardy. Your charity work in California for your hometown and small businesses has been outstanding, but the temper tantrums maybe a little bit over the top. And that's just one man's opinion. You may not remember me from when we used to interview you at Cal, and you and I had a good time doing that. But, times have changed, and you may find me to be a different person criticizing you now today. Congratulations on your engagement, by the way. She's a lovely lady. I just wanted to throw that out there as well, too. So anyway, that's going to do it. I can't believe I did an hour solo here talking about the MLB, talking about the NBA. I should give some picks out. I like the Toronto Blue Jays tonight. I like the Toronto Blue Jays, and I like the Washington Wizards laying 4 tonight. Those are the 2 games I'm going to go with in terms of picks tonight. And let me find this here as a closeout. I want to thank Charlie O and Casey Freelove for being great partners. They're on assignment today. Thursday, we'll be back 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific, right here on Facebook Live. On my YouTube page, Vasu Vadaparty YouTube page, Stables Media YouTube page will have the video. If you missed it, you can download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you get that. So, Casey, take care. Charlie, take care. Thanks for filling in last week. I'm Vasu Vadaparty. That's the Make the Money and Run podcast for Monday, May 3rd, 2021. Have a great afternoon. Enjoy your week. Good luck. May all your bets be winners. And we will see you Thursday at 4:15. Take care, everybody.